My name is Stacy Rothgeb. I'm an MBA student at the University of Denver. I'm talking about the session Net Zero Housing from Concept to Reality. This was again a panel discussion, and it was facilitated by Eric Whirling with the Department of Energy, and with three panelists. One was Sharon Mexner from the Pacific Northwest National Laboratory, Gene Meyer from Thrive Home Builders, and Joe Wheeler from Virginia Tech. And his connection is that he has done, he works a lot with some of the Department of Energy programs that the other folks here also do. What the content of this was kind of giving an overview of what is currently out there related to zero energy housing right now. And maybe I should set the stage a little bit, is that I know these people. Eric Whirling is one of my clients, so all the programs they talked about I knew, so I was mostly there to provide support. But like everything in life, I haven't seen these folks very much in the last few years because of COVID. So hearing their perspective on a couple of things and the connection they were making was very valuable. And it was really good to hear, because I am doing a session tomorrow, is that, hearing how they really teed up some of the content that I plan to cover. And so it'll be interesting to know, I am doing a working group, or a workshop. It'll be interesting if I have any overlap, and I may ask that question at the beginning, because there is a lot of consistency between the messaging that we both have, which is expected since we work together so much. So what did they talk about? And I'm not sure if this is about critiquing the way the sessions go, but like this one, they really relied a lot on slides. And I will say that I did not like it as much as some of the panels where they really were much more question and answer and really going into the audience to get questions. But so some of the slides and what they wanted to talk about is that Joe Wheeler has participated in the Solar Decathlon Student Design Competition, and he talked a lot about how this competition was not only about experiential learning, but it was also an opportunity to do that place-based research that is so important and so hands-on for when we're doing workforce development and grooming the next generation. He also promoted a number of concepts that he is working on, and some of them, it was great to hear because it's all stuff we're working on too. It was good to hear a builder's perspective, because even though they said Virginia Tech, it was obvious that he was doing some startup companies, but a lot of it is the idea that we need to rethink how we build to build more high performance, because cost still is an issue, and we need to, we've known for a long time how to build high performance, but people still don't buy it. So why is that? And so he talked a little bit about some of the projects he's working on that are using industrialized construction techniques. So it was very interesting to see his pod and panel approach to tiny houses. I did not know he was doing that, so I will be following up with him. And then there was also, he talked about a townhome project that he's using that's volumetric modular. I was more aware of that, but I did not know that he was successfully doing solar panel installation in the factory. So this is another great overlap with some research that we're doing. So good connections, good networking, because I did not know that. We also heard from Gene Myers with Thrive Home Builders. Gene is someone I have worked with significantly. What was great to learn on that one is that Gene, during the pandemic, like so many builders, had to pull back some of their high performance building tech. Basically, they had to make some concessions to stay afloat, is what came down to it. And so it was great to hear his approach about how they're going back to high performance building, and specifically, which was news to me, was that they're taking on a zero carbon goal initiative by the end of this year, which is super ambitious. I'm not sure of very many other builders that are trying that, but the way they're doing it is not only through energy efficiency and some material selection, like the highest carbon impact materials like concrete, and doing more engineered wood products, but they are also going to do some carbon credit under the name of the homeowners to get them to carbon neutral. So that's an interesting approach. I know some other bills have thought about that. I did not know Gene was working on that. So that's great. Also, we'll be following up with him. They did have a discussion, which was pretty funny to me, where the facilitator asked them to compare the various labeling programs around zero energy homes. It was interesting just because I've worked with many of them. I can't say I disagreed with their impression. I would wish there was more time to hear what the audience had thought on that, because it was pretty high level and subjective, maybe is the word I'm looking for. Sharon Metzger with PNNL mostly presented some tools that the lab is working on to help, resources to help both builders and manufacturers, and in some cases homeowners, get into the high performance market. We see all the time that there are adoption barriers. One of the things that she really drove into was the workforce adoption barriers, which is very well known. Something that she said that I thought was really great that I would like to amplify more of is the fact that we're looking for heroes in home performance. So like everyone talks about the climate change problem and how we need to solve that, but the workforce that's going to enable high performance building practices, these are going to be our heroes of that. And I think it's a very true statement, because the challenge we have is without, and this is not just designers and engineers and architects, this is like the installers and the energy auditors. And until we really build that into a robust industry, which is struggling, they really struggle to find enough support and help and quality tradespeople to work in these areas. Until we really build that up, we are not going to get adoption, because right now labor costs are really one of the most driving problems, more so even than the technology. So my perspective, again, I wish we'd had more time for questions on this session, because I would have loved to hear how the audience interpreted it. I know there was quite a few that walked up and asked questions afterwards. I thought it was a nice overview of some of the various things that are happening. I wish we'd walked away with more of an action plan. So that's, and how does this impact me? I guess I've kind of sprinkled that in with everything I've said to date, is that I walked away, even though I went there to support my peers, I walked away with action items and things that I know that I can now reach out and collaborate with them and increase my network, and that there's opportunities we can work stronger together and hopefully make change faster.